Hello, welcome to Battle of the Ports and a pretty dire Bart vs the Space Mutants. Developed by Imagineering and designed by Gary Kitchen, who was approached by Acclaim in 1989 while the original Simpsons shorts were airing on the Tracy Ullman Show. Full production of the game began in May 1990 with an intended release by Christmas 1990. Development issues caused the game to be delayed to early 1991. Upon release, Bart vs. the Space Mutants received mixed reviews, with criticisms directed towards the controls and high difficulty level. However, it was also a commercial success, selling over 1 million copies and becoming a bestseller for the NES. It really does show that NES owners would buy crap due to a license. But who can blame them? The Simpsons at the time was massive. In Bart vs. the Space Mutants, the basic idea is to turn anything purple into red. This can be done in various ways, from simply spray painting items, covering them, or solving dumb puzzles. The game is horrible in so many aspects, but that's not a surprise considering the developer and designer. Sorry, I don't think Mr. Kitchen designed very good games from a gameplay point of view. One major issue here is that it just isn't clear what you can consider a platform and what you can't. The obscure puzzles just add to the frustration, as does the unresponsiveness of the controls. I tried so much to get past stage 1 just for this video, but you know what? I gave up. I just couldn't be bothered. The Amiga version was developed by Arc Systems and vastly superior to the NES original in terms of looks and gameplay. Don't get me wrong though, it still sucks big time, but at least the movement is more fluid. What is odd is the lack of speech. You'd expect the Amiga version to have more, not less or none in this case. So yeah, much nicer looking but still a crappy game even when cheating. Atari ST is next, and straight away you get the feeling this is going to be a cheap port as the opening isn't animated at all. Then the game starts and your feelings become reality, as you're faced with a very slow and unresponsive port of the Amiga game to the ST. This just isn't acceptable in the slightest. Even trying to use the spray can is a pain due to the laggy controls.
Wow, man. Aha. I'm Bart Simpson. Who the hell are you?
Next up is the DOS version that has a pretty cool opening. Sadly, the game is only slightly above the ST version. Well, maybe not slightly, but not as fluid as the Amiga release. Also, the audio seems quite funky. I have a feeling that's due to the game running on Windows 7 on the DOS box, rather than good old-fashioned DOS. Okay, let's move back to the 8-bit systems with the ZX Spectrum port. Unlike the previous versions, this doesn't scroll, which makes some sections rather tricky as it becomes more difficult to line yourself up for jumps or to see oncoming enemies. The jumping mechanics are also a little floaty, and surprisingly this game doesn't seem to work with a joystick. It uses the same keyboard controls as the DOS version. At least graphically, it's rather clear for the most part. Staying with the 8-bit home micros with the Amstrad CPC version, which is pretty much the ZX Spectrum game, but now in colour. There are some differences though, such as no intro, no music during gameplay, and the skateboard not being present on the first stage. There could be other differences too, but I can't be bothered playing this trash. The last of the home computer ports, and thank God for that. This is the Commodore 64 version, looking like a washed out CPC port. But actually, it is probably a bit worse to play despite having the scrolling playfield. The issue here is the collision detection on the platforms. This is one of those games where you fall through platforms when trying to stand on them. Even with cheats, this was not a fun game to play. Also, it's very odd that the C64 version is joystick only, while the Amstrad CPC and Speccy versions were keyboard only. the console, starting with the Mega Drive port that was also developed by Arc Developments. Possibly this is the best version so far. It contains the original intro from the NES version, has clear graphics, very high quality speech samples, and the best gameplay so far. Sadly, it is Bart vs the Space Mutants, meaning it still isn't a good time, but if you had to play this game, this would be the version to play. Just a shame it doesn't have the Simpsons theme. Instead we get an annoying original theme composed by Tony Deaf. Yeah, that makes sense. The Master System is next with yet another respectable looking port. Unfortunately, there must be something wrong with it, and here it is. It's the jumping mechanics. They're quite limited, making jumping to platforms pixel perfect in some cases. Not what you want in a game that is already not clear about what you can and cannot land on. And finally, the last port of this awfully dull game. This is the Game Gear version, which is based upon the Master System version. It's pretty much the same game, but running a little slower. I have a feeling that's because my Master System is Japanese, so I was running the game a little fast. This is probably the correct speed. However, that doesn't change the fact that this version has all the same issues as the Master System version, plus the added hindrance of less screen real estate, meaning you can't see as much as you can on the Master System version. And let's take a look at all those versions of Bart vs the Space Mutants running side by side. They all suck, but which one sucks the most?